YouTube and whatever else we're on, bring you up to speed on what's going on in the tropics. This is not only an incredibly busy time with 2 storms forecast to come into the Gulf, but this may end up making history. We've never had 2 hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico at the same time. That might happen early next week, especially going into Monday. Monday, I think, would be the day that we would have 2 of these systems, Laura and what is TD14, into the Gulf before they made landfall. Both intensity and forecast track are still in question. They changed quite a bit today. The forecast track, let's get to the details of what's going on. This is TD14, not very well organized. This is Tropical Storm Laura. Winds in Laura are only 45 miles an hour. It's a minimal tropical storm. TD14 has winds of 35 miles an hour. So neither of these storms are very strong at the moment. Here is TD14. This is the one we think will eventually become Marco. So we'd have Marco and Laura. The center is right in here. Thunderstorms are trying to build around the center, but they haven't been able to go all the way around. We want to see this fill in with thunderstorms if it looked like this was about to really leap up in intensity. It may become a tropical storm. Hurricane Hunter was in there earlier today. They did not find tropical storm force winds. They did continue to find that closed center of circulation, making it a tropical depression. But again, the strongest winds on the northeast side of the center here were at 35 miles an hour, not the 39 you need to bring it up to a tropical storm status and get it named Marco. One thing as we look at this, so here's the center, storms moving northwest. Look where the strongest winds are. They're all on the right-hand side to the north and east, the right-hand side of the center of the track. That's important because that's where all of the worst of the weather is going to be with this system, what eventually becomes Marco. And if we zoom out, look at the bigger picture, you can see there's that forecast track. Look where all the weather is with this system right now. It's all to the north and east of the center. South and west of the center, it's quiet. Look at the southern Gulf. It's quiet, a few showers in Central America, but nothing. So the storm is lopsided, and it will stay lopsided. Upper level winds coming across the Gulf, you can see them right here. They're coming out of the southwest, and so that is going to help to just slop everything over to the east of the center. So it's important to know where the center of the storm is going to go. Forecast track from the Hurricane Center on 14, which will be Marco, changed significantly today. Moved to the west-southwest by about 80 to 100 miles or so, putting the center of the storm, the center of the cone, to the south and west of the Houston area. This would be making landfall on Tuesday. This is the storm's predicted location, somewhere on this line, Tuesday at 1 in the afternoon. So Tuesday today, we would have impacts on the Texas coast from what will be Marco. If this cone verifies, and if the center of the storm does pass to the southwest of Houston, Galveston, well, that would put us on the dirty, the strong side of a tropical storm. We'd get wind and rain. We'd get some isolated little tornadoes, small tornadoes, probably a dozen of them or so pop up. We would get power outages, maybe a couple 100,000 at the peak, because we'd get some wind gusts in here of 40 to 60, and that would knock down some small limbs. Might knock over 1 or 2 larger trees. If that happened in the wrong spot, it could cause wider spread power outages. So that's what we're looking at as far as a threat based on this forecast from 14, which again will be Marco. A tropical storm is not going to cause a storm surge. You may have some minor flooding on Highway 87 on the Bolivar Peninsula. You may have some high washover of the waves on the west side of Galveston Bay, League City, Texas City, Kemah, Baytown, but nothing too big and bad. No real damaging surge, and nothing that we really would have to do any type of widespread evacuation for. That's the good news, is that the intensity forecast in these so far has remained quite low. But I want to talk about the uncertainty in the track. So these are all the spaghetti plots. Look at this. They are spread from the central Mexico coastline to Brownsville, to Houston, to Lafayette, Lake Charles, New Orleans, all the way over to Mobile, Alabama. So as you can see, the models are still quite uncertain as to the exact track. And remember, this track changed quite a bit, shifted quite a bit further to the west today. It would not surprise me if it ended up shifting further west. So that's a look at TD14 and the uncertainty in the track as it stands right now. Let's talk about Laura, our tropical storm. Well, Laura's got a couple of issues. Number one, the track is going to take it over the island of Hispaniola, over Cuba, and then into the Florida Straits before entering into the eastern Gulf. Now, I have to tell you, sometimes these storms don't survive their trip over the island of Hispaniola or over Cuba. Sometimes the center of circulation is so disrupted that it just can't get itself together. So we'll see if it survives that trek. If it does, early next week in the eastern Gulf, conditions are going to be quite favorable for rapid development. And so it may go from a very weak tropical storm to a Cat 1 hurricane pretty quickly in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And this forecast track has changed significantly over the past 24 hours. Yesterday it was heading toward the Florida Panhandle. Now the center of the cone is pointed right at the mouth of the Mississippi River and up toward New Orleans and Lake Pontchartrain as a Cat 1 hurricane, 75 miles an hour. That's a significant shift to the west. It would not surprise me if this forecast cone shifted even further west in the coming days. Something we'll have to watch very carefully. So not only is there uncertainty in intensity, but uncertainty in track. Let's take a look at the computer spaghetti models on this one, on Laura. So this is interesting. Here's what I see. I see three clusters. One tries to turn it back toward Florida, toward the Florida Panhandle. Another cluster takes it up here into New Orleans, Mississippi. And see all these members here? This third cluster wants to take it to southwest Louisiana or even the upper Texas coast. So looking at this at the moment, we've got three trains of thought. Right now, this one, the middle one, is where the forecast cone from the Hurricane Center is, but it would not surprise me to see this change either to the west or to the east as we go through time. And if the storm were to miss the mountainous terrain of island of Hispaniola and Cuba, it might even be a stronger storm. So there are still a lot of moving parts going into the forecast track and intensity of both these systems. And when we look at this, I mean, this is just incredible. So I've never seen a forecast like this. I've been a weather fanatic my whole life. Been here for 25 years at KHOU. Never seen that. So I haven't seen a forecast. That's all we've got is a forecast right now. If this verifies and we end up here on Monday with two Cat 1 hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico, that would just be amazing. I actually think that this is unlikely. To get two hurricanes that close together in the Gulf, that would be quite amazing, and it would be difficult for the atmosphere to do this. And so I look at this with a little bit of skepticism, but we'll see. Maybe that will end up happening. Fantastic. And here's a closer look. As it stands right now, it's New Orleans and Houston, Galveston that are the biggest cities next to the center of those forecast cones. We get a strong tropical storm. That's on Tuesday of next week. This landfall would be Tuesday night into Wednesday. They're a little bit behind on that system as it would go into New Orleans as it stands right now. Likely impacts early next week, Tuesday, here in Houston. It's minor surge flooding. The storm's just not forecast to be big enough or strong enough to raise the sea level too much to cause any significant problems. I've got Highway 87 and West Bay getting impacted by some lowland inundations, some minor flooding, especially if it comes in at high tide. We can handle that. We're used to that. That probably wouldn't result in any type of evacuation. Review your hurricane supplies and contingency plans, especially if you live on the coast. The intensity forecast of these systems can change. And if it suddenly wants to crank up to a major hurricane on the coast, you need to be ready to take action and leave, especially if you're in a spot that is prone to flooding. But that's just standard stuff as you go into hurricane season. Download the app, turn on notifications. We update that app on the weather side of the KHOU 11 app multiple times a day during storm season like this. So you'll have the very latest updates. We always post them there. You'll have them. You can watch the latest video update, all the details. It's a great time to stay close to the forecast. Watch your local news. I would suggest watching Channel 11, but watch some sort of local news and weather. We are the experts here on what's happening in Houston, Galveston. Sometimes some of the national apps and the forecasts that you automatically get from your phone, I don't even know where it comes from, and I've looked at it, and it's not accurate. Watch us so you know and don't get caught off guard in case some sort of major change happens, which sometimes happens when forecasting these tropical systems. 20% rain chance Saturday and Sunday. Here's Gulf Watch and Marco possible impacts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's not out of the question that we could end up with some sort of impact from Laura as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. I can't remember the last time we were this busy in the weather department. It is fun and it is challenging, and I love it. We'll keep you posted over the weekend, and of course a live update. We'll have updated forecast tracks tonight on KHOU 11 News at 10. We'll have them right off the top of the show.